Can you imagine 100,000 jobs disappearing in just 21 days? That's the staggering reality hitting the U.S. job market right now. Across America, layoffs are sweeping through factories, corporate offices, and farms, leaving families reeling before their next paycheck even arrives. This isn't an isolated crisis. It's a nationwide economic shockwave, driven by rising tariffs, shrinking exports, and skyrocketing operating costs. Businesses are being forced to slash payrolls just to survive. Manufacturing hubs are seeing plants go dark. Service industries are shedding staff. Agricultural jobs are drying up as supply chains buckle under pressure. Entire states are reporting record-high unemployment filings as lines at job centers stretch longer every morning. And this isn't just about statistics, it's about livelihoods. Behind every layoff is a family struggling to pay rent, buy groceries, and keep the lights on. America's labor market is at a breaking point. Is this just a temporary downturn or the start of a deeper economic collapse? Number 1, Illinois. Illinois economic collapse, job losses, manufacturing decline, and financial strain. Illinois is unraveling like a sweater pulled at the seams. In just 3 weeks, more than 22,000 workers across factories, offices, and retail chains have lost their jobs. For a state already burdened by sky-high taxes, corruption, and massive debt, this latest economic blow feels less like a setback and more like the start of a downward spiral. Chicago, the state's economic engine, is now one of its weakest points. Downtown office vacancy rates have surged past 25%, leaving gleaming skyscrapers empty and wiping out tens of millions in wages. Corporate downsizing has hit finance, tech, and insurance hard, with more than 7,000 white-collar workers laid off in just weeks. Restaurants near Michigan Avenue report sales down 30%, while small retailers are closing at rates not seen since 2009. Illinois' manufacturing sector is reeling from tariffs. Trump's 50% steel and aluminum tariffs have raised production costs by $120 to $140 per ton, slashing overseas orders. Machinery and equipment plants in Rockford and Peoria, including Caterpillar, have cut shifts. Caterpillar alone faces $400 million in losses this year due to declining global demand. The agriculture industry, worth $19 billion annually, is also in crisis. Corn and soybean prices are collapsing under Chinese retaliatory tariffs, falling from $14 to $11 per bushel. Combined with fertilizer prices up 30% and diesel near $4.50 per gallon, farmers face devastating losses. Economists estimate Illinois farmers could lose over $2 billion in 2025. Households are under severe strain. Property taxes, the second highest in the nation, average over $6,000 per household. Combined with mortgage rates above 7%, monthly payments on a $350,000 home now exceed $2,700 before taxes and insurance. Foreclosures in Cook and DuPage counties have risen 33% year over year, while the average household carries $9,800 in credit card debt. Illinois' fiscal crisis deepens with over $140 billion in unfunded pension liabilities. Every job lost reduces tax revenue and increases pressure on social programs. Food banks in Chicago report demand up 38%, with middle-class families lining up for groceries for the first time. If trends continue, Illinois could lose 75,000 jobs by year-end, devastating families and businesses alike. The land of Lincoln risks becoming a landscape of layoffs, foreclosures, and shuttered storefronts. Illinois isn't just struggling, it's melting down in real time, a stark warning that even America's third-largest metro area can't withstand the perfect storm of tariffs, debt, and soaring costs. Number 2, Virginia. Virginia's economic collapse, job losses, defense cuts, and housing crisis. Virginia, long the economic engine of Northern Virginia in the D.C. metro area, is now ground zero for America's job market collapse. In just 3 weeks, more than 25,000 Virginians have lost their jobs, the fastest short-term wave in the nation. What was once a stable blend of government contracts, tech hubs, and military spending has turned into quicksand, swallowing thousands of families whole. Northern Virginia, including Fairfax, Arlington, and Loudoun counties, has been hit hardest. For years, the region thrived on defense contracts, tech jobs, and federal government services. But budget cuts in Washington, contract cancellations, and corporate downsizing have already eliminated over 10,000 white-collar positions. Tech firms that once offered six-figure salaries are slashing staff, leaving office towers in Tyson's Corner and Crystal City half empty, with vacancy rates surpassing 20% for the first time in a decade. Virginia's military and shipbuilding sectors are reeling too. Hampton Roads, home to the world's largest naval base, faces slowdowns in shipbuilding and maintenance. Newport News Shipbuilding, employing over 25,000 workers, projects billions in lost revenue this year, with suppliers anticipating $250 million in cuts. Small businesses dependent on defense workers are closing, and the state's manufacturing backbone, from tobacco to textiles, is operating at reduced capacity due to tariffs and rising material costs. Agriculture is also suffering. Virginia soybeans, the state's top cash crop, are down 12% year over year. Farmers running 1,500 acres now face losses of $100,000 or more per season, with banks warning of a potential 25% increase in farm foreclosures. Virginia's housing market, inflated by D.C. spillover, is cracking. In Fairfax County, median home prices dropped from $720,000 to $660,000 in 6 months. Mortgage rates above 7% now make monthly payments on a standard suburban home nearly $4,000 before property taxes. Foreclosures are up 29% statewide, with Richmond and Norfolk leading the surge. Retail and hospitality are collapsing as well. Virginia Beach tourism revenue is down 15%, costing nearly $400 million. Over 1,500 small businesses statewide have closed since January, wiping out billions from local economies. If trends continue, Virginia could lose 80,000 jobs by the end of 2025. Food banks in Alexandria and Norfolk report a 40% increase in families seeking help, with middle-class households struggling to make ends meet. The Old Dominion is now the epicenter of America's jobs collapse. A harsh reminder that when Washington sneezes, Virginia doesn't just catch a cold. It catches an economic plague that may take years, even decades, to recover from. Number 3, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's economy is collapsing. Job losses, housing crisis, and industry shutdowns. Pennsylvania's economy is unraveling, not in the distant future, but right now in 2025. In just 3 weeks, more than 18,000 jobs have vanished across the state, gutting steel, coal, manufacturing, and logistics industries that once defined the Keystone State. This isn't a repeat of the 1980s recession. It's happening faster, with fewer safeguards, and the fallout is devastating families who thought the worst was long behind them. The main trigger is 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, which have slammed Pennsylvania's industrial heartland. In Pittsburgh and Bethlehem, the cost of producing steel has skyrocketed by $130 per ton, while overseas orders have plunged 45%. Local plants are idling furnaces, cutting shifts, and sending thousands of workers home. ArcelorMittal's Pennsylvania operations project $300 million in losses this year alone, with pink slips already spreading across the state. But steel isn't the only casualty. Pennsylvania's struggling coal industry, which produced just 40 million short tons in 2024, down from 70 million in 2010, is now in free fall as demand collapses and power plants switch to cheaper natural gas. Mining towns across western Pennsylvania are watching their last paychecks disappear, triggering an exodus of workers and families. The pain is spreading to the state's logistics and warehousing sector along the Layoffs 81 corridor. With imports throttled by tariffs and ongoing trade wars, cargo shipments are down 22% year over year. Distribution hubs for companies like Amazon and FedEx have frozen hiring and cut hours, while small trucking operators report revenue losses of nearly $50,000 per rig annually, forcing many into bankruptcy. Meanwhile, ordinary households are being crushed under rising costs. Pennsylvania's median household income is roughly $73,000, but mortgage rates above 7% have made homes unaffordable. A $250,000 home in suburban Harrisburg now costs $1,850 per month, $600 more than just 2 years ago. Foreclosure filings in Philadelphia are up 28%, And in towns like Scranton and Erie, homeowners are walking away entirely. Retail and restaurants are in crisis too. The King of Prussia Mall, one of the largest shopping centers in the U.S., reports sales down 18% year over year. In Pittsburgh, more than 250 eateries have closed since January. Retail workers, earning an average of $13.50 an hour, are losing jobs at levels not seen since the Great Recession. Even Pennsylvania's dairy farmers are under siege. Milk prices have fallen from $3.60 per gallon in 2022 to $2.80, while feed and fertilizer costs are up 30%, pushing hundreds of multi-generational farms toward foreclosure. If the current trajectory continues, economists warn Pennsylvania could lose 60,000 jobs by the end of 2025. Food banks in Philadelphia and Allentown are already seeing demand up 35% year over year, with once middle-class families waiting in line for donated groceries. Pennsylvania, long known as the industrial backbone of America, is becoming a warning sign, a signal that the nation's economic foundation may be far weaker than anyone wants to admit. Number 4, Ohio. Ohio's economy is collapsing. Job losses, housing crash, and industrial meltdown. Ohio is facing one of its worst economic crises in decades. In just 21 days, more than 15,000 workers across factories, warehouses, and offices have lost their jobs. Over 700 families a day without a paycheck. The Buckeye State, once the proud industrial backbone of America, is reliving the pain of the 1980s manufacturing collapse. Only this time it's happening faster and with fewer safety nets. The immediate trigger? 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, which were intended to protect U.S. jobs, but are instead crushing Ohio's economy. Steel mills in Cleveland and Youngstown report production costs have surged by $120 to $150 per ton, making them uncompetitive globally. Orders from Europe and Asia have plunged nearly 40%, leaving furnaces idle. U.S. Steel's Ohio division has already announced mass furloughs, and local suppliers have lost tens of millions of dollars in contracts overnight. Ohio's auto industry, which employs nearly 90,000 workers, is also in crisis. Stellantis's Toledo Jeep plant has slashed production after sales fell 18% year over year, leaving parking lots filled with unsold Wranglers. Electric vehicle projects meant to secure Ohio's future are instead draining resources. Analysts warn the state could lose $2.3 billion in auto output by year's end. The pain is spreading to households and local businesses. The average Ohio family now carries $89,000 in debt, and auto loan delinquencies are up 11% compared to last year. Retail sales in Columbus are down 20%. Restaurants sit half empty, and foot traffic at Easton Town Center, one of the Midwest's largest malls, has dropped 22%. Ohio's housing market is unraveling. Median home prices have plunged from $245,000 to $210,000 in under a year. Inventory is soaring, up 70% in Cincinnati and 60% in Akron. With mortgage rates above 7%, a $200,000 home now costs over $1,500 per month. Unaffordable for families living on unemployment checks, capped at $648 a week. Foreclosures are accelerating, threatening entire neighborhoods. Even Ohio's farmers, the backbone of rural communities, are being crushed. Corn and soybean prices are down 12%, while fertilizer costs have surged 34% since 2022. Retaliatory tariffs from China have closed export markets, leaving family farms facing losses of $80,000 or more per season. If nothing changes, economists warn Ohio could lose 50,000 jobs by the end of 2025, turning cities like Cleveland, Dayton, and Toledo into economic ghost towns. Food banks already report 32% higher demand year over year, with middle-class families lining up for groceries for the first time in their lives. Ohio is not just struggling, it's in free fall. Without swift intervention, the heart of the Midwest could flatline, leaving America's industrial core permanently weakened. Number 5, New Jersey. New Jersey's economic collapse, finance, logistics, and household strain. New Jersey, the so-called Garden State, is witnessing a rapid economic decline. In just 3 weeks, more than 20,000 workers have lost their jobs. the fastest wave of layoffs the state has experienced since the 2008 financial crash. Empty office towers, shuttered warehouses, and stressed families now define the landscape. The hardest hit sector is finance and corporate services. New Jersey's proximity to Wall Street has long supported over 350,000 jobs in banking, insurance, and back-office corporate support. But higher interest rates, global market disruptions, and tariffs have forced multinational companies to slash payrolls. Major firms in Jersey City and Newark have already cut thousands of positions, while smaller financial services companies report revenues down 25% year over year. Analysts warn New Jersey's finance sector could lose $1.5 billion in income this year alone. The state's warehousing and logistics industry, once booming after the pandemic, is also in free fall. Distribution hubs near Elizabeth and along the I-95 corridor are half empty as imports from Asia declined 20% due to trade wars and tariffs. Amazon has frozen hiring, FedEx is cutting hours, and small trucking firms report annual losses of $60,000 per truck. Hundreds of drivers are abandoning rigs, fracturing the state's logistics backbone. Even New Jersey's pharmaceutical industry, employing over 110,000 people, is feeling the pinch. Retaliatory tariffs in Europe and Asia are cutting hundreds of millions from revenue, forcing layoffs in Princeton and Somerset County. Meanwhile, households are being squeezed. Median household income hovers around $97,000, but property taxes average $9,500 per year. Mortgage rates above 7% make homeownership increasingly unaffordable. A $400,000 home in Bergen County now costs over $3,000 per month before taxes and insurance. Foreclosures are up 31% statewide, with Atlantic County leading the surge. The service economy is collapsing as well. Casinos in Atlantic City, once generating $2.6 billion annually, report gaming revenues down 14%. Hospitality layoffs are mounting, restaurants are closing, and over 1,200 eateries have already shut in 2025, draining tens of millions from local economies. If trends continue, New Jersey could lose 70,000 jobs by year-end. Food banks in Newark and Camden report 40% higher demand than last year, with middle-class families queuing for free groceries. The Garden State isn't just struggling, it's rotting from its economic core. New Jersey serves as a stark warning. Even wealthy, high-income states can collapse quickly when tariffs, inflation, and rising debt converge, leaving families, workers, and businesses in crisis. We've driven through 10 states, uncovering the hidden cracks in America's job market, housing, and industries. From Ohio's collapsing factories to Virginia's defense and tech layoffs, it's clear. The economic landscape we once relied on is shifting fast. Jobs aren't guaranteed, homes aren't safe investments, and industries that were once pillars of stability are now teetering on the edge. Every city we visited tells the same story. Tariffs, rising interest rates, and inflation aren't just headlines. They are hitting families, workers, and small businesses like a freight train. Manufacturers, farmers, financial workers, and service employees are all feeling the pain. Vacant offices, empty warehouses, foreclosures, and shuttered shops aren't just numbers. They're the real-world impact of an economy under stress. So here's the question for you. Would you risk your financial future on a job or home that could collapse overnight? Because these aren't distant warnings. They're happening now, and the choices we make today matter more than ever. If you want to stay ahead of these trends, protect your investments, and understand the realities that most real estate and economic experts won't tell you, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and activate the bell so you never miss a video. We'll be here every day, same time, bringing you the most critical updates, insights, and survival strategies for navigating America's changing economic landscape. Don't let another crisis catch you by surprise. Stay informed, stay prepared, and take control of your financial future, starting today.